I'm just back from my travels and I decided to make a series of international coffee favorites. Today we are going to make something inspired by the Greeks. We're going to make two types of Greek iced coffee, Freddo Espresso and Freddo Cappuccino. Stay tuned until the end of this video clip. Freddo Espresso has gained popularity not only in Europe but also in the Americas, Australia, and even in the Far East. Freddo Espresso is inspired by Greek iced coffee, which started as a Greek frappe. Greek frappe is more like using instant coffee, much like your Dalgona coffee in recent days. Freddo Espresso was inspired when the Italian espresso machines started to become popular in Greece. Instead of using instant coffee, they've started using espresso. For sure, espresso are more concentrated and would taste better than your regular instant coffee. Hence the birth of Freddo Espresso. Freddo is an Italian word for cold, so it's more like ice or cold espresso. Now, to make Freddo Espresso, it is very simple. You need very simple gadgets. If you go to Greece, you will see many shops would be offering Freddo Espresso and Freddo Cappuccino, and they would be using this special gadget, which is a frappe maker, good enough to blend the espresso with some ice. But because we don't really use it that much here, especially at my studio, I am going to show you how to make Freddo Espresso and Freddo Cappuccino the simple way at home, or if you want to add this to your cafes, you can do so with very minimum investment. For Freddo Espresso, because I am going to blend the espresso with ice, you need more than just a milk frother. For this, I'm going to use a simple smoothie blender. So something as simple as this, which you can easily find, and probably most of you would already have this at home. So this one is capable of blending small bits of ice. And for Freddo Cappuccino, you don't need to blend with ice. What we are going to use will be the milk frother. Now let's take a look at the ingredients. It's coffee beans. Today I am using Mabini Ubuan. Origin is from Ilocos Sur. These are coffee beans from the Philippines. The flavor notes are blueberry, tropical fruits, pineapple, and winey. And because this is a typical way of making Freddo Espresso in Greece, we also add a little bit of sugar syrup. Now this is a homemade sugar syrup. If you haven't yet seen how to make this, do check out my video tutorial above. This is a little bit more concentrated than your simple sugar syrup. I use a proportion of 2:1, so you don't need to use a lot of this syrup to make Freddo Espresso. And of course we need ice. Here are a few important tips to make the perfect Freddo Espresso. Number one, less amount of espresso from your coffee beans. So I'm going to use a proportion which is 18 grams of coffee beans in, and I'm going to pull about 36 to 40 grams of espresso out. You'd like it to be a bit thicker and creamier, so we're going to make it a short shot. Another tip that you have to know when making Freddo Espresso is that you use a short glass. Once you blend your espresso, all you need to do is to add a little bit of ice into your glass and then pour your blended or your Freddo Espresso over ice. Okay? Now, for the Freddo Cappuccino, what we are going to do is very similar, but we are going to make use of a taller cup. And what we do is to pull the espresso shots, similar proportion, 18 grams to about 36 to 40 grams of espresso. And this time we are going to pour the espresso with a little bit of the sugar syrup over ice. No need to blend it. And then we are going to make a milk foam, froth the milk, very creamy milk foam, and pour it on top of our espresso. Let's make the first one, which is Freddo Espresso. Let's start by pulling our espresso shots. So I'm going to use my 18 grams of coffee beans in. We're going to aim to pull these shots within 25 to 35 seconds, okay? I've got my espresso here, and now it's time to assemble our drink. First, I'm going to add just a little bit of my sugar syrup. I'm going to use 1 teaspoon. This is adjustable according to your own preferences, of course. And I'm going to add this into my smoothie blender, 1 teaspoon. Okay, and what you can do is you can add your espresso, and if you'd like to try it before you blend it, you can do that, so you know exactly the sweetness level is according to your preference or not. But now I'm just assuming it is. Okay, so that's it, and then I'm going to add a little bit of ice, and a smoothie blender will be capable of blending small bits of ice like this. Do not use large cubes. Okay, so now it's time to blend. Blend it for about 45 seconds to a minute until you get that texture which is creamy and also a bit foamy and thick. Okay, now we are going to pour it into our glass here. Let me put the mat there so you can see it clearly. So add ice into your glass, again not a lot. Okay, and then we are going to pour our blended espresso over. If you don't have a smoothie blender like this, you can also put it in a jar and shake it vigorously, or a shaker, that will also work. So there are many ways that you can make this at home and even in your cafes if you don't have these gadgets. Okay, so there you go, and now I am going to pour this into my glass of ice. And this is your Freddo Espresso. Creamy, perfect for hot summer days. So I'm not sure how you drink this, but because it is very foamy, if you take it from the glass, it probably will just leave some foam. So I'm going to play safe by using a straw. This is just like your espresso, except it is creamier and it is Freddo or cold. That just takes espresso to another level. It gives that bit of sourness to it, the fruitiness of my coffee, and also it gives that very refreshing feeling, very creamy, and you can take this longer than your regular doppio for sure. So Freddo Espresso at home. For those that like their coffee with milk, then we can make Freddo Cappuccino. For the Freddo Cappuccino, we need to add milk and we need to use a milk frother. So you can use this, or again, you can use your smoothie blender to make a foam out of your milk, but I find that this is the easiest way to make your milk foam. So first, I'm going to pull the espresso shots, and now it's time to assemble our drinks. For this, I'm going to add the same amount of sugar syrup. This time, I'm going to mix it with my espresso. And this is where I said that you can taste your espresso before you assemble your drink, okay? By all means, give it a try if you'd like to know whether it's sweet enough. Okay, that's perfect for me. And now, before we pour it into our cup of ice, I am going to make my milk foam. I'm going to make it very foamy so that it will float on top of my drink, okay? There you go. Milk foam there, and we're ready to assemble the drink. Ice into your glass, and into this we are going to pour our concentrated espresso. I'm just going to stir it. We are going to pour our milk over. And this is Freddo Cappuccino the easy way. There you go, your Freddo Cappuccino. And if you'd like it to be more traditional, then you can also add a sprinkle of chocolate powder on top. Very light, very refreshing, how coffee lovers would love it when it is very hot outside. I must say this is probably the new way of making cappuccino for me. So instead of using my usual regular way, this is an option, especially if you are looking for something like very light and refreshing and not sweet at all. This one is perfect. It's very creamy, just like what you would expect in a cappuccino, without a lot of sweetener added to it. While some of you might wish to add cream or whipped cream, but I think this is just perfect. That's all I would like to share with you today. Stay safe, stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Ciao for now.